Clemens homebrewed.
Got a beer here. Here, beer.
Hey, this is the Viking is in the house.
Beer.
What are we having today, Paul?
Oh, we gotta have a Hibernation Ale. Barrel
We
aged.
haven't had anything to drink. Full disclosure.
Not
Just telling you.
one.
Well, okay. Nothing that we're counting yet.
Not one, anyway. Great Divide. Barrel Aged Series. Hibernation Ale and Ale aged in whiskey barrels.
Paul knew I'd had Hibernation before. So he got the big BA version.
February 2016, so it's still fresh. But it's been aged for 12 months in whiskey barrels.
All right. You know, if you get a big BA and a beer, you know I'm a happy guy.
And this one's only a small ABV, sadly. Only 11.5.
Well, we'll suffer through it. So let's get her cracked open.
Got this in Paulsbo, Washington, at the Marina Market.
If you ever get up in Washington, you've got to get to Poulsbo for some good Viking food at the Europub and get to the Marina Market, because watch this video. It's just amazing.
There's nothing like it.
Amazing. And great food, by the way, too. European imports. And then you get to try this with Paul. Thank you, sir.
Fun, food, and fantasy.
We've had a good night. We've had some great food and some beers. And just spending time together is a fantasy. So there we go.
There you go. Sexual fantasy. Here we go.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
All right.
All right. Cheers. We're going to get the nose, though, I think.
Yep.
But look at that. That's a great head. That's like a, finger head. But
It's khaki colored. It's pushing that khaki limit.
And look what it does on the sides.
I know, the protein's just rolling up
those
and
nice
down that glass.
legs coming down.
If you just watch the bubbles sticking, when you do that, it just dances up. Mahogany brown hues. I need more long.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
There's a bright spiciness though too.
There is. It's really interesting. It's not like super in your face, right? And I get that there's probably a really good amount of hop behind this, but it also has this like soft, like bready edge to it as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's a big, rounded out caramel, molasses, raisin breadiness underneath this, but then there's this caramel, peppery, bright bourbon, or the whiskey rather. But there's also this bright, kind of almost a aromatic hop that's coming out through everything too.
Absolutely. And the key word that you said was rounded. It's really like comes across as soft and rounded to me. The other thing I got out of it was very interesting, with some like apple.
Yeah, there's definitely some fruit notes going.
I call it the apple core effect. And then it kind of picked back up to the sweetness with the bourbon and some toffee aromas too.
A little bit of smoky char coming through, and I think some of that vanilla mixing with the caramel is bringing a touch of butterscotch with it.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. But I think the keynote you said earlier, I feel like it's just really rounded, and it has this breadiness that just makes me think of a creamy texture through the nose. I don't know how you say that, but it just comes across like it's going to be creamy.
No, there's definitely depth to this beer. Just the aroma has depth to it, and almost a creme brulee nose to it with the caramel and the vanilla and the roasty toasty notes coming up through this.
I don't know if I'd go as far as creme brulee, but the roasty toasty aspect is totally in there. Absolutely.
Maybe a little fire on top of that, just giving that little caramel.
Well, that would be fun.
There you go. Burn it.
I said, let's do it, man.
All right.
Boom.
Cheers.
Wow, that's nice. Oh, but I'm going to go right back to his keyword. He said, rounded, just like this hat right here. It's just
Rounded.
Yeah, but it's not flat.
Rounded.
Probably a little more like a horny devil.
Yeah.
You know, probably.
Drink enough of this, I'm gonna become a horny devil.
He already was.
Oh.
So, in terms of flavor, man, God, this is good. Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
This is, I don't know. You get those toffee notes, you get those caramel notes. I'm leaning almost more, that's hard. It's pretty, I get a lot of both.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say there's one stronger than the other. It's blend. And I get a little bit of that butterscotch coming in too.
Oh, I got vanilla, caramel, molasses, brown bread. I mean, I get all those classic dark malty styles coming through this.
You just get a light amount of the barrel age. So you do get the oak off of that. You definitely get the bourbon on it. But they've really balanced it super well so that it's not like this overwhelming. Well, if you like barrel-aged beers, it's not overwhelming.
There is a soft fruit, but there's also a subtle like mustiness that's coming through this too. That's a bright kind of note that you don't usually get. Almost like I don't know how to describe this musty note that I'm getting. There's a fruit, like a red apple, but it's not full-on quad red apple or anything like that.
I go back to, I describe sometimes, it makes, well, on the nose anyway, it makes me think of what I call the apple core. When you get to the center and you got the seeds and things, it reminds me of the apple core. But on this side of it, I don't get that same in the taste. I get like a red apple, like I said, kind of lightly, but it's very smooth. And the muskiness is something to do with that barrel, some of that earthy barrel character coming through from the oak.
Yeah, it has a tannic note that kind of dries out the palate in the back end, but it's not an overly bitter beer. It's very smooth and luscious.
No.
To me, the body's a little thin. It's a little on the thin side, but I like beers that are literally viscous, like molasses that you pour.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah.
Paul always complains about these beers being thin.
But if you have this almost taper, it's tapering that full side of the medium mouthfeel, and you can only just imagine what the beer was like before it went in the barrel.
But you're right, though. I'm not going to argue with you. There is kind of a thin taste to it. But at the same time, even though it is a thin taste, it doesn't mean that it's not coating the mouth, because it's fully coating the mouth. And I think that's an interesting misconception sometimes where people think when you say it's thin, it means it's not like full body. But still full body.
Works around your palate. It sticks.
Yeah.
It's doing, but the body itself has a silky smoothness to it that just goes right down the palate. Boom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's slick, but it does feel thin. But it is a sticky
that coating,
flavor.
That kind of, and it pulls out even that idea of the caramel, that brown sugar molasses note. It even just gets those and they stick along, and it's savory. That has a savory aspect.
And it's not heavy molasses though.
No.
I mean, there's a very light molasses aspect.
It's not black.
I like the brown.
Brown sugar.
I like the brown sugar description much better myself. I think it's a lot more like that. Because if you want to talk about molasses, I mean, a biscuit's heavy on the molasses.
Yeah, right.
And this is not heavy on the molasses.
This isn't backstrap chaos or blackstrap chaos. This is just like you said, like a nice molasses, cane sugar, brown sugar.
Now you're gonna think, maybe you're gonna think I'm crazy, but because it's, well, that's true. But because of this light body and stuff, we had earlier J.W. Lee's Harvest, right?
2012 port cask.
Like I said, we hadn't had anything to drink, not one. There's something in this, I don't know what it is, and maybe you can help me, that is making me think of some English beer in a way.
Well, I think it's like I get a lot of brown bread notes out of this one that I pull out of a lot of English ales, that kind of copper coin brown bread earthiness.
I guess the toffee.
Definitely toffee.
That brown bread and that toffee aspect, it's interesting. Because Hibernation has a lot of hoppiness to it, and you get that on the bitterness aspect on this. I mean, there is some bitterness to it, but it's really well balanced.
Yeah, plus the aging process would take some of that hop and then turn it into that more that earthy note that would just bring out some of that.
And what's nice about it is it didn't go to the like herbal tea side either, at all.
No, there's aromatic notes to this one with the hop that's still in there. but it's just a really well done, savory ale. I mean, winter ale is pretty accurate to this. There's not spices like ruining
that's
the
a good
palate.
description.
It's just a bold, malty beer with a nice hop presence that gave it an earthy back, and it just handled the barrel aging correctly.
It's good.
It's okay.
Yeah, this is a good beer. I think we're going to take a little bit of time, and we'll come back with whatever our conclusions are. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
Slide in the picture a little bit. He's afraid to get close to me. Did I do that? No. All right, we're back, and this, I have to thank you again because this is a fabulous beer. I'm really enjoying this, and I want to re-emphasize. This is a winter ale.
Winter ale, yes.
You know, you don't get that many winter ales, and when you do this time of the year, they tend to be almost extreme side sometimes these days. For me anyway.
Extreme on the bitter or extreme on spices, covering things
Right.
up, or they're just a bit lackluster.
Yeah. I agree. And I liked Hibernation. I thought it was a good winter ale. But I think this is the best winter ale I've ever had. Now, I'm only a little partial to barrel-aged beers.
Right, just a touch. But at the same time, if Hibernation, to me personally, as a winter ale, was heavily hopped, I would prefer a...
We can't hide his beautiful hair.
I would prefer a less hopped ale for a winter ale than a hop bomb.
Yeah, and some of the classic ones that are less hopped but have really nice tones when it comes to bringing not just caramel but some toffee flavors, and what I want to call like leaning towards an English ale but with a little bit of spices are ones that I think are really great winter ales for me.
And
How about you?
This definitely has all that.
It does, and then it adds barrel.
Yeah. You get your tannic char, you get your vanilla, you get your bourbon, you get your spicy notes, and a little bit of raisin.
But it's a buttery toffee. It's a beautiful buttery toffee.
It is savory.
And as we talked about it, I started realizing more and more that I was just picking up on a lot of raisin. Some raisin in this too. Mm-hmm. I didn't quite identify properly earlier, but it really is a winter ale. It has all those qualities that I've loved in winter ales. It's just kind of kicked up a notch, and I think it's very complex.
Yes, very much so. Yeah. Well, just this, the pepperiness of the bourbon, caramel, raisins, this brown sugar note with just mixing in with all that vanilla, almost a hint of butterscotch, and it is just, the earthiness just rounds everything out, gives you a clean palate to play off of. The only thing that really gives you any kind of bitterness overall is the tannic notes. But
the light tannic, as he said, just kind of dries it out a little bit. And it's not like a super dry, it's like a semi-dry, but it just prepares your palate
for the next sip.
And that's like the perfect quotient for a beer, just to keep sipping on, enjoying it. So I'm persuading Paul to try something unique, and he does a 1 to 10 scale. I do my 1 through 100. But on a 1 to 10 scale, in terms of winter ales, how would you rate
winter
this?
ales? I would probably give this in the 9.5 region for winter ales.
And for winter ales, I think this is probably the best winter ale I've ever had. I've had some beautiful beers. I'm giving it a 97 on winter ales.
There you go.
So the next thing we'd move to is our overall, which is his normal rating anyway. So how do you rate this one?
Overall, I think this is very delicious. I mean, just it holds the barrel correctly. It's a bit thin on the overall body. There are some notes that they try to describe that we just don't get. Chocolate? What chocolate?
Right. I think that's really pushing.
I think that also just their overall approach of their own beer kind of falls lackluster in our palates, and that just another thing that pushes things down a little bit. But overall, I think it's a great beer. It's a fun sipper. It's a fun sharer. and I'm glad I got a chance to try it.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 overall.
And you know what? I'm going higher though. I just have to. I like it, and I think the thing that really gets me on this is it is really well rounded, and I think it's a very complex beer. There's just a lot going on at it. We had fun talking about. We're trying to pinpoint some of these aspects we're pulling out of it. Mm-hmm. For me, it's a 94.
Yeah.
I'm just digging on it. I think it's a great beer.
There is a lot of subtle nuances to this. Even the barrel aging is a subtle nuance.
Yeah.
And I think that was something for me that could have been kicked up a little bit to get it to that 9.5 area for me. That rough. It doesn't have that rough.
I don't think winter ales usually have that rough. So that's why I'm going higher. But you know what? We're going to wrap this one up real quick here. Here it is again. This is it.
Is the Hibernation barrel-aged version from Great Divide Brewing Company.
Man, I'd say if you could find this. I think this is a find. I think this is a great beer. This is Kevin.
And Paul.
I'm from Clement's Homebrew.
PA Brew News.
And we're just saying, life's too short
to drink cheap beer.
That's right. Get together with a friend.
And we'll see you
on the next beer review.
You like that? Boom.
Oh, yeah.